So the question of the day, is it a good time to sell your house? This is such a hard answer, or a question to answer, I should say, but I'm going to use some analogies. All right. So people always want a simple answer. Here's a simple question to an answer. If you're at a corner and you need to get to the other side of the street and it says do not walk and there's just cars zipping across, is it a good time to walk across the street? No, it's not a good time for anyone. Everyone that walks across the street will probably get hit. But then you say, well, some people might have a bridge and some people might have a huge gap. So is it a good time to walk across the street? Well, no, but there's exceptions, right? Well, that person has a bridge and that person has huge gaps and everything like that. And it's the same thing with real estate. There's always exceptions to everything, right? So if you were to say to me, if everybody was in the same shoes, everybody, we all have the same house, the same interest and the same equity, and it wasn't that much equity, and we were all saying, is it a good time to sell? Well, then I would say probably not. Why? Well, there's not a lot of buyers. There's so much inventory. To sell your house nowadays, on average, you're doing closing cost incentives. You have to be priced perfectly, and everyone's starting too high. And if you start too high and then you come down to where you should have been, you're probably going to have to go under. There's so many buyers that are picky, more picky than ever. You're competing with new builds, right? And builders are giving away homes. I mean, the incentives to these builders are astronomical. So if I'm looking at it on an average standpoint, I would say no. But the problem is that not everyone's the same. So for instance, I'll give you a perfect example on something. Let's say you had two people that lived in the same community. One of them only owes $100,000. Okay, that's it. They only owe $100,000, but their home is worth $400,000. They bought the home in 2016. They refi. They have a 2% interest rate. So it doesn't matter if they sell or not. But if they were to sell, right, at $100,000, they owe $100,000 to $400,000. Even if they had to offer incentives and they had to take a little bit low offer, and maybe they had to put money into their house, they're still potentially making around $250,000, like let's say after everything's said and done, okay? Well, that person might say, that money is phenomenal. I don't care if the next house that I buy has a higher interest rate. And I don't care if the next house that I buy is higher in taxes. I'm happy making all this money that I can go buy something else, or I can move and be happy. But the next seller might owe $320,000. And they don't have a lot of wiggle room, and they're not going to make a lot of money. And yet their interest rate might be okay and their taxes might be okay, but does it make sense for them to sell right now? And then to do what? Take that little bit of money if they make it and put it into something where their taxes might be higher now because of reassessment. They might have a higher interest rate. So it's like you have two people that are in the same situation. And even though the person A, so watch this. I'm going to, perfect example. The first person that was selling their house for $400,000 could have sold it for $500,000 a year or 2-3 years ago. But it doesn't matter to them because they're still making so much money on profit because of all of the equity that they have. So everybody has different scenarios. And this is why it's always hard to answer these questions, because it all determines your situation. This is why I do not agree with any of these realtors that are always out there being like, this is the best time. It's the best time. Because you know how many of these agents said 2 years ago, this is the best time to buy. And a lot of those people are underwater. But where are those agents now? They just hid. And it's so, in my opinion, unethical to tell everybody what's the best thing to do for everyone. So I can say, right now this market's tough. There's not a lot of buyers out there. There's red dots everywhere. I mean, if you go to Zillow, there's hundreds and hundreds of red dots everywhere. People are not selling for full price unless they have priced absolutely perfect, or they have like a home that is so desirable that those buyers are willing to pay it. If you look at most of the homes are not selling even close to full price. And the other thing to pay attention to is there's a lot of agents out there that are like, I got a full price offer. Yeah, after 4 price reductions. So if you started at $400,000, you brought it down to $300,000, and then you got a full price offer, you're out there bragging to everyone that you got a full price offer. You didn't say, oh, it took $100,000 of me to do a price reduction to get that full price offer, you know? So we have to sit down and say, why are you selling? Are you selling because You have to move for work? Are you going through a divorce? Do you want to be closer to family? Is it a desire thing? Like, oh, I just don't like the area anymore. I want to move because I want to live closer to the beach. Or I want to. There's so many factors involved. So as a whole, I don't think the market's great for sellers right now. Absolutely not. As a whole, I think it's a great market for buyers, right? Absolutely. So now you go back in like 2021. Was it as a whole great? It was a phenomenal market if you wanted to sell your home. You were making so much money on your homes, right? You had nothing to deal with inspection and everything else. But then on the flip side, I would tell people, but where are you going to go? Because now you're going to become the buyer. So when people ask, is it a good time to sell? Again, I just want to repeat myself. There's always a great time to sell. There's always not a great time, depending on person. Overall, if we're all in the same shoes, I don't think it's a great time in a sense, because from everything that you have to do from incentive-wise and whatnot, especially with this whole new commission structure that they're doing, which I'll do a separate video on. But again, all these videos that I do are for you guys to comment. And I want you to comment. I want you to say your opinion and tell me what you think. But what I don't want you to do is compare your house to your friends. That's one thing I never want to hear. People do it all the time. Like, well, my friend, they got this. You don't know why they got it. You don't know why that buyer bought that house. And you definitely can't compare your house to somebody that's completely in a different area. Someone one day was like, well, my friend in Miami. And I was like, oh, God, you can't compare it. Okay? You can't compare, because there's always people that are going to sell in this market for top dollar. There's always going to be somebody. I mean, I got a full price offer on one of my properties. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it everyone, because again, that was a perfect house for the buyer that they thought it was a perfect opportunity. So again, comment below. Let me know what you think. Any questions you have. I'm doing videos all the time. I love doing this. Anything you guys want to learn about, I'm here. And keep following, because I'm literally posting blogs on the website every single day.